From the station working for you, this is Good Morning Indiana, streaming now.
Now at 4:30, Indianapolis is chosen to host all of March Madness. What we know about the plans and how it can help Indiana's economy in the long run.
Concerns that COVID-19 vaccines are falling short of expectations, how the FDA is addressing the problem.
And a business owner says they have hope for the first time since this pandemic began, how sports and pop culture are responsible for this much needed help. But first, here at 4:30, I want to thank you for joining our team here on this Tuesday on Good Morning Indiana. I'm Lauren Casey.
Great having you back. I'm Megan Shen, and of course we have Todd Clausen here monitoring the weather. Hey, Todd.
Hey, good morning, ladies. We had the little wintry mix go through here this morning. In fact, it's still going through. It hasn't really done much in the way of any damage to the roadways as far as slick conditions, with temperatures hovering at or just below freezing. I noticed the roadways were wet on my drive into downtown Indianapolis. And as we told you yesterday, it's just a very thin, quick-moving band of precipitation that's making its way through the area. And you notice as you work your way from Hartford City through Muncie over to Winchester, down to the Richmond area now in Connersville, and eventually Greensburg, that little rain-snow mixture is going through. If you're seeing the snow, it could put down a quick little coating on the roadways. That should be just about it. Once that goes through, you look back off to the west and it's pretty quiet. And so that's the only precipitation we have in the forecast for the day today. Here are those temperatures. Again, generally right around freezing, still at 36 though in Muncie. So not worried about any slick spots there as of right now. Unfortunately, we cannot get rid of the clouds here throughout the day today. Don't bank on any sunshine here throughout the day today, with the exception of maybe a peak here or there. And temperatures, Lauren, that'll be in the mid-30s.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. Let's take a look at traffic as you're heading out the door this morning. This is at I-65 and 30th Street. We're looking north of the downtown area. You can see traffic there is moving along up to speed, both northbound and southbound. Todd did mention a little wintry mix that went through. I noticed a little light drizzle, almost sounded like sleet as I got through the Perry Township area of Indianapolis earlier this morning, but it didn't slick it up my roads too much for my commute, so that is good news. We'll continue to keep a close eye on your commute this Tuesday morning, let you know if there are any crashes or delays. Megan?
Definitely take your time. Thanks, Lauren. And Indiana is going to be the center of college basketball in the coming months. This morning, we're learning more about the NCAA's plans for Indianapolis to host all of March Madness. 68 teams will travel to the Hoosier State for the men's tournament and will play at 6 venues. Those include Lucas Oil Stadium, Bankers Life Fieldhouse, Hinkle Fieldhouse, and the Fairgrounds Coliseum. IU and Purdue will also host first-round games at Assembly Hall and Mackey Arena. The plan does not currently include allowing fans, but a decision is expected to be made on that in the next few weeks. And Governor Eric Holcomb says this is a golden opportunity for Indy, and making the event safe is a top priority.
Can do this. We'll just have to pay very close attention to, obviously, the numbers in each of the communities, and then make sure all those public health measures are put into place that allow us to host these events at the level that's safe.
Mask Madness is also a part of the plan. The NCAA is launching a campaign to give out tens of thousands of cloth masks across the state in March. Lauren?
Well, even without the fans, Megan, the tournament is expected to help boost Indiana's economy.
That's right. Well, earlier estimates say that it'll bring in roughly $100 million. We talked to Kim Donahue, a sports marketing expert with IUPUI, who says with restrictions still in place, downtown businesses will probably not see a big impact on profits, but the long-term impact is immeasurable.
What people think about is all these student athletes that are coming to Indianapolis and are going to be here in our bubble. Most of those are not going to go pro. The vast majority of these student athletes are going to go on and be leaders in their profession of choice. And here they're going to have hopefully the best experience possible. And they're going to take that forward into their careers and use that as a recommendation in their future businesses as well.
And of course, we'll continue to follow the tournament's plans as they develop. You can find more insight and reaction to this announcement right now. Just go to the WRTV News app.
And here's a look at Indiana's latest COVID-19 case numbers. The State Department of Health reporting 3,630 new cases of the virus. That brings Indiana's total case count to nearly 530,000. 39 more deaths were also reported. 8,150 Hoosiers have died with COVID-19 since the pandemic began.
And across the U.S., the coronavirus crisis is taking a serious turn for the worse. Hospitals out in California are so overwhelmed that they're actually turning away patients. And the FDA is issuing a new warning about COVID-19 vaccines. ABC's Alex Perche has the very latest.
This morning, U.S. health officials out with a new warning, shooting down suggestions from some top health experts looking to speed up vaccine distribution by cutting doses in half or even delaying the second shot. In a new statement, the FDA warns changing the approved dosing schedule is premature and not rooted solidly in the available evidence, adding it could run a significant risk and undermine the vaccination efforts.
Dosing a first dose without a second dose available, that's just not in the label.
It comes with states saying only 30% of the vaccines distributed so far have been administered.
It's so frustrating, so frustrating.
In Florida, seniors camped out overnight, hoping to get their shot, but thousands were turned away. The governor now demanding hospitals speed things up.
Hospitals that do not do a good job of getting the vaccine out will have their allocations transferred to hospitals that are doing a good job.
In New York, the governor is threatening hospitals with a $100,000 fine.
If you don't use the allocation by the end of this week, you can be fined and you won't receive further allocations.
The state now confirming its first case of that more contagious COVID variant, a man with no recent travel history testing positive. At least 3 others in contact with him, now waiting for their test results. That UK variant has spread to at least 4 states, making the race to vaccinate all the more urgent. In the U.S., more than 128,000 people are in the hospital with COVID. ERs are overrun, with this post-Christmas surge still looming.
We're running probably 300% of our normal capacity, right? I mean,
300%.
The situation in Los Angeles County is so dire, ambulance crews are now being advised to cut back on oxygen use and not to take patients to the hospital if they have little chance of survival.
It's nonstop.
Alex Perche, ABC News, New York.
Well, a struggling business down in Bartholomew County says for the first time during this pandemic, it has hope. Randy and Robin Lapidus own a restaurant, Special Dogs and More, on Washington Street down in Columbus. They focus on hiring people with intellectual and mental disabilities. 2020 started off strong for these owners, but once the pandemic hit, the sales plummeted. To stay afloat, they applied for Barstool Sports' Barstool Fund. A sports media company started the foundation last month to help small businesses across the country, and to their surprise, Special Dogs was selected.
For the first time since the pandemic has started, that light is no longer just a little pinhole. That light's now a lot bigger.
So Randy and Robin said the money will help to cover rent throughout the entirety of the pandemic. Special Dogs is one of about 70 other businesses that were picked for this opportunity. The Barstool Fund is still accepting new applications. We have more information on our website. Just go to WRTV.com and learn more. A deadly weekend in Indianapolis as gun violence continues here. Coming up, we'll tell you how the community is helping to alleviate that financial burden that many families of homicide victims find themselves facing.
And a warning for nursing home residents over their stimulus checks. WRTV Investigates explains what to do and what to look for to make sure your loved one isn't taken advantage of. Todd.
And a light wintry mix is making its way through central Indiana. It's now in eastern portions of the state. It's going to wet the roadways. Could be an isolated slick spot, but other than that, it's not going to cause too many issues here, I think, for your Tuesday morning drive. Once that's off to the east, a pretty quiet weather pattern. We'll break it all down for you coming up when Good Morning Indiana continues right here on WRTV.
/choose kindness.
Welcome back to Good Morning Indiana. We're just 5 days into a new year, and the city of Indianapolis has already seen 3 deadly shootings.
Lauren, with each homicide is a family who not only is dealing with the loss of a loved one, but the financial burden with a funeral and burial. WRTV's Megan Santorum is working to find out how faith leaders and community members are stepping up to help.
He was found 3 years ago on 42nd and Post in Brentwood Apartments.
Kathy Mann is talking about her 19-year-old son, Trayvon.
He had been missing for a few days, and When we got the call, he was deceased.
That call no mother should ever have to receive. She describes a whirlwind of emotions. His killer or killers still out there. His 1-month-old son now without a dad. And on top of all that, a major financial aspect as well.
When you go to your job to tell them that your son or your child has been murdered, you need his life insurance policy and things like that, and you're expecting to leave out of there with a piece of paper that's going to help you bury your child, and for them to tell you that you don't have that, that is just as bad as losing your kid.
It's very heavy on these families.
Reverend Charles Harrison with Barnes United Methodist Church says this isn't a new issue, but one he's been seeing more families go through as homicide numbers increase.
It's heartbreaking when you get the phone call, when you're talking with the family. They're already grieving about the fact they have, lost a son or a daughter or a nephew or a niece. But then now trying to find the resources to bury them.
So faith leaders often step up to help, and the community comes together.
We do raise money in our churches from church members. A lot of us have funds that we can pull from. And then the larger community, when we send out the message that we need help to bury someone, we have gotten great response.
Man says she was able to pay for her son's services thanks to community support. It was one less thing to worry about during the darkest of days.
Just to be able to know that my community cared enough for me and to see my struggle with this, that they came and decided to help me, is a blessing.
Working for you, Megan Sanctorum, WRTV.
Thanks, Megan. And Reverend Harrison says he hopes to eventually start a community fund specifically designed to help families of homicide victims. As for Man's son, his case remains unsolved, and anyone with information about it is asked to call police.
The time right now is 4:44. A reminder from WRTV Investigates this morning. If you have a loved one in a nursing home or an assisted living facility, check on them and make sure they got their stimulus check. The Federal Trade Commission issued a warning that some nursing homes may try and take the stimulus payments, especially for residents who are on Medicaid. This happened with the first round of stimulus checks issued last year, if you may remember. The Federal Trade Commission suggests talking with your loved one's nursing home and reminding them that the resident should get the money. If you hear otherwise, report it to the Indiana Attorney General and the FTC at reportfraud.ftc.gov.
Lauren, last week the Census Bureau said it would miss this year's end of year deadline, dividing congressional seats. Now a White House attorney says it won't happen until February. And the count is based on population and determines how many seats in Congress each state gets to vote for. And the delayed deadline means President Trump's effort to exclude undocumented immigrants from the count likely won't happen by February. President-elect Joe Biden will be in office and could block the effort. The pandemic delayed census counting this year and made for more difficult counting.
Well, Kroger is hiring more Hoosiers as we begin 2021. The grocer has hired nearly 13,000 people in 4 states since the pandemic began, and there's still more opportunities for you to land a job. A Kroger spokesperson tells WRTV that the pandemic created a spike in demand for Kroger pickup. Jobs continue to be available in that area. The company also needs pharmacy technicians. Those are just some of the available options. So to take a look at all of Kroger's open positions right now, just go to jobs.kroger.com. The time right here is 4:46. Let's check in on the radar. What's going on, Todd?
We've had this little light rain snow mixture, Lauren, that's been making its way all the way across the state. It's now east of Indianapolis, impacting areas from Muncie down into the Greensburg area. There's not a lot of moisture with it. You see how thin the band of rain is as well, and temperatures are hovering right around the freezing mark. So with the exception of maybe an isolated slick spot here and there, I do not think this is a widespread issue for us, but just be aware, especially if you're in the Portland, Winchester area, a little precipitation is falling, and temperatures there are actually running a little bit warmer. It's kind of a weak little front coming through, so it's reducing the temperature down to 30 in Indy, but as this is falling, it's coming down as a little bit of rain and or freezing rain. Greensburg over towards Rushville. Connorsville, this light wintry mix continues to make its way through the area. Back to the west of this precipitation, though, it's just cloudy, kind of a damp feel, but no additional precipitation in the forecast for the remainder of the day. That is the good news, at least going forward. The bad news is we're never really going to get rid of these clouds, as they're going to be pretty locked in place throughout the entire day. In fact, the rest of the week is going to be a pretty quiet week of weather that is going to feature lots of clouds around, but temperatures that'll be pretty seasonable. You notice a little bit of fog out there, just dampness from that moisture that went through. Here's a live look downtown Indianapolis, and you can just kind of see the city skyline through there. The temperature right now, that sits at 30 degrees in Indy, but it feels like 20 when you factor in this wind that's out of the northwest at 13 miles per hour. And so we're going to be dealing with breezy conditions as well, and that's why you're really going to need to bundle up across the area. Temperatures in the 20s and 30s here this morning. Out ahead of that front, temperatures are still hovering at or just above freezing. Behind the front, you notice a couple degrees cooler, low 30s and upper 20s across the area. Here's your forecast for the day today as we break it down hour by hour. We're in the 30s here throughout the afternoon hours. You notice a little bit of sunshine potentially working in this afternoon, but it's never going to be like yesterday. Yesterday was a beautiful afternoon by January standards with temperatures in the 40s. This evening, temperatures fall from the 30s back down into the 20s. Tomorrow morning, it's dry but cloudy. Temperatures in the mid-20s, and then throughout the day tomorrow, mostly cloudy skies and temperatures that'll be topping off right around 37 to 38 degrees. And that's a pretty consistent theme going forward in this forecast. The next best chance of any decent sustained sunshine for more than just a peak here or there, that will arrive in the forecast, Lauren, during the day on Saturday.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. Let's take a look at traffic as you're heading out the door this morning. Taking you out here to Hancock County, a live look at I-70 near State Road 9 in Greenfield. You can see traffic there is traveling up to speed. If you look closely, it looks like we do have a little bit of wet roads from the system moving through right now. We also heard from our Kelsey Anderson that she's passed some salt trucks out on the roads this morning, so they're working to make sure that your commute is a safe one, so just watch out for them doing their jobs. Megan?
Thanks, Lauren. Well, a blood transfusion could save your pet's life, but the pandemic is having a big impact on how much of that blood is available. Blue Pearl Veterinary owns vet hospitals and says they're seeing a drop in pet blood donations. Now they're worried the trend will continue into 2021, and Blue Pearl's chief medical officer tells us a number of factors are driving the demand for pet blood right now. That includes pet ownership increasing during the pandemic.
Because we're treating so many more patients, we have a higher need at the moment. So what we have to do is we have to then be really careful about which patients we use the blood products on. There are some times when you can make a decision of the patient will do okay without it, then we will choose not to do that. But we don't want to ever get into that position.
Like to have your pet donate blood, it is best to contact your veterinarian first. Blue Pearl says a relatively big dog or cat that is middle-aged with no health conditions is the best for donating.
Well, here at 450, there could be a new dog breed making an appearance in this year's Westminster Kennel Club show. This is the Bichon Terrier. It's been around for years, but the American Kennel Club just gave it an official breed recognition, meaning that it can compete in U.S. dog shows. It's the 197th recognized breed. The Bichon is closely related to the Yorkshire Terrier, but it has some different markings. It was introduced in the U.S. by German breeders in the early 2000s. This year's Westminster Dog Show will happen in June instead of its usual February date.
So cute. All right. Well, good news for Android users. Samsung is unveiling its latest smartphone earlier than expected. The electronic giant will show off the Galaxy S21 next week. You can see the sneak peek showing a smartphone inside a cube with the little title saying, "Welcome to the Everyday Epic." They will unveil the rest of the Samsung's Unpacked event on January 14th. And that is about a month earlier than the typical February showing, Lauren.
Well, Pizza Hut is celebrating its stuffed crust pizza with an interesting new menu item. Why they decided to ditch the pizza part just after the break.
And today, a major Indianapolis project is opening its doors to the public. Coming up, all new at 5, an inside look at the reimagined 1930s Coca-Cola Bottle Works food hall. That's right.
WRTV.
Welcome back to Good Morning Indiana. So Megan, what if you could get the stuffed crust without the pizza?
I take it. And that's exactly what Pizza Hut is offering, Lauren, on their menu now. The nothing but stuffed crust is exactly what it sounds like, you guys. A ring of cheese-filled dough and no pizza in the center, missing all those toppings. But they're offering it for now only a few days this week to celebrate the 25th anniversary of their original stuffed crust pizza. Unfortunately, you'd have to travel to get some. Pizza Hut is only offering it in California and Texas. Todd, I don't know about that.
I need the sauce, I need the cheese,
pizza.
I need all the goods in the middle.
I love the
Kind of looked like a ripoff
Otherwise,
there.
otherwise I call those breadsticks with cheese.
Right. This is the good stuff.
I need all the stuff in the middle, if you ask me. All right. As we go throughout the day today and beyond, throughout the remainder of the week, lots of clouds around. And you notice the temperatures, they're not really going to move a whole lot. We're going to be in the 20s throughout the overnight hours, and then in the mid to upper 30s through the daytime hours, at least during the work week, where there's a lot of clouds in place. Once we get to the weekend and then beyond, a little more in the way of sunshine, with the clearer skies at night, a little bit cooler, and high temperatures in the mid 30s for Saturday and Sunday as well. Plenty more coming up when Raphael joins the ladies and I right here on Good Morning Indiana, coming up at the top of the hour. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.